Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Charles in Charge Cowboys Sports Report. It is about 16 days away from the draft. It is April 9th, about 5:30 p.m. Central Time, my time. It's about the third video I've cut since our horrible playoff loss. Took me a while to get over that. Um, First goal is to hit 500 subs, and then 1,000. When I hit 1,000, the show will skyrocket. I'm telling you, you'll be able to get studio equipment, a full desktop, for live shows, and a call-in line for live shows. The subscribe button, it's red. It's a free investment on your part. If this is the first time that you're watching my content, my first game was Super Bowl 28. Been watching this team for 30 years. Played my entire youth. Been a student of the game my entire life. You hit that red subscribe button. Check out my content for a couple weeks. If you don't like it, you can unsubscribe. But you hit that red subscribe button, you help this channel build to something special. Everybody brings something different to the table. Law brings something to the table. Mike Fisher brings something to the table. Mark Holmes all bring something different. Mike Fisher works inside the Star, so he brings you facts and a side that we can't bring. Law Nation has some contacts inside the Star more than others. He brings, what only he can bring. Mark Holmes brings only what he can bring. Rome, Cowboys Fan Talk brings what he can bring. I bring what I can bring. That red subscribe button is important. I'm close to 500. This seems to work for Mike Fisher. Before I jump into this fire, guys, I got to touch on this on the count of three. If this is the first time you're watching my program, on the count of three, guys, hit that red subscribe button in unison. Help build this show up, and I guarantee you it will pay off. I guarantee you it is a free investment, guys. On the count of three, hit that red sub button. 1, 2, 3, boom. Red sub button. If you did it, you're a winner. I love you for it. Then the thumbs up, like Mike Fisher says, that beats the algorithms. Basically, gets your video viewed more. It'll pop up in people's feeds that don't even know me. They'll click it, watch it. If they like it, boom, there's another one. On three, if we can hit that like button. 1, 2, 3, boom. If you did it, you're a real one, and I love you for it. All right, now let's get into this here. Everybody's putting a fork into this team kind of already before this, before any off-season activities have even started, before the draft has even happened, because of who we have lost and who we have signed. Put this in perspective. Go back 2 years ago, 2022 offseason, right? We come off the 21 season, 12-5, lose against San Fran at home. It was at 23-17. That offseason, first thing we do is deal Amari Cooper. And we want to do it to make a point, so we deal him quick for a 6th-round pick, which I thought was stupid because we could have easily got a second for him if we'd have waited about a few weeks. And as well as we draft a 2nd-round pick or a 3rd-round pick would be a lot better than 6. We get John Ridgeway with that 6th-round pick. Washington winds up stealing it off the practice squad, so we get nothing for Amari Cooper. We cut Lyle Collins, all-pro right tackle in 2019. People don't think Terrence Steele is as good as he is. So we lose Cooper, our number 1 receiver, which leaves us with CeeDee Lamb, an unproven number 1, and Michael Gallup, our number 2, with a torn ACL, coming off torn ACL. Lose Lyle Collins. Let Cedric Wilson walk, our wide receiver number 3, who was a clutch receiver number 3 for us. Lose Randy Gregory to Denver. It was, one of our bigger pass rushers. Tyron Smith's hamstring comes off the bone. He misses basically the entire regular season. Comes back the last 3 or 4 games to fill in at right tackle when Steele went down. And during that offseason, all we brought in was James Washington at wide receiver and Dante Fowler as edge rusher. And during that season, we were without Dak Prescott for 5 games. We still go 12-5, win a playoff game, go to the 2nd round, and lose a nail-biter to San Fran, 7-point game. Tony Pollard doesn't break his leg in that game. I think it might go down to the wire, to the last few minutes of the 4th quarter. But when TP went down, all we had was Zeke at running back. Lamb was our only receiver. Gallup was, non-factor. We had T.Y. Hilton. We didn't have Brandon Cooks. We tried to get him at the deadline. It didn't happen. But, that was supposedly a horrible offseason for us. And I kept telling everybody we're getting better by addition, by subtraction. This offseason, we lose a slew of guys. 3 to Washington. We lose defensive ends Dorrance Armstrong and Dante Fowler, right? Dorrance was a starter. No. Since Mike had been playing DN, Dorrance was rotational. Dorrance and Dante Fowler, defensive ends, rotational pieces. We lose them to Washington. We lose Tyron Smith to the Jets. I would have liked to have kept him for one more year. We lose Tyler Biadasz to Washington, starting center. We lose Tony Pollard to Tennessee. We haven't re-signed Stephon Gilmore. He's a free agent. And Jaron Kearse. We didn't re-sign him. Let him walk. Kearse had a really bad year last year. He was a tight end eraser in 21 and 22. Last year, he couldn't erase anybody. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's six, impact guys that we have lost in free agency. We brought in one guy, linebacker Eric Kendricks. Linebacker was a big need for us, being that, undersized Marquise Bell and Damone Clark were the starting 2 linebackers last year after week 5 when LVE had his last neck injury. What a lot of people don't understand is the draft class last year. Mozzie Smith, Schoonmaker, Overshown, who didn't play towards ACL. Asim Richards. Everybody that we got in the draft, there was no impact players like we're used to having. The 2022 draft class, Tyler Smith, impact player off the jump. Jake Ferguson, impact player off the jump. Sam Williams had something to say that year. Jerron Bland, impact player off the jump. We're used to having 3 or 4 rookies that are instant impact players from the draft class in year 1. 2021, you got Micah Parsons. I don't have that list in front of me, but of course, we know Micah did what he did. Kelvin Joseph was a wash, but there was a few other players, that stepped up and did their job. 2020, CeeDee Lamb, Trayvon Diggs, Osia Digizua, all those guys made impacts in year 1. And you can go back, to 2018, 2016. So right now, this is our current depth chart. Right now. Quarterback, Dak Prescott. Trey Lance by week 1, I bet you will be quarterback number 2. And Rush will be the emergency quarterback number 3. They want Lance to be number 2. And I think they're going to push him to be quarterback number 2. So if Dak does go down and misses a couple games, they really want to see what they have in Trey Lance. Running back. Right now, Rico Dowdle. You could say we got Hunter Lipke and Malik Davis, but right now it's Rico Dowdle at running back. So running back room, weak. Wide receivers. We got CeeDee Lamb, who is arguably top 2, top 3 wide receiver in the league. He had 1,749 yards last year, 12 touchdowns. Another 100 catch plus season. Only Cowboy in history to do that. I have 2 of them. Lamb at receiver 1, Cooks at receiver 2, Tolbert at receiver 3. Tolbert is getting a little better each season. He's going to year 3. And 4 through 6, you got Kevontae Turpin, who is getting better at receiver. Good return guy, but getting better at receiver. Jalen Brooks, who I didn't even think would make the team, our 7th-round pick receiver last year. Looked pretty good when he got playing time in the regular season. Last season. And when we drafted him, the guy really didn't have much size, much speed. I didn't see why we drafted him. He didn't seem like much at all, but seems like he has really good technique because he went number 83. When he was cold, he made his plays. And Martavis Bryant is on the roster right now, on the depth chart. At tight end, we have Jake Ferguson. That boy is the next star tight end for us. We had Jackie Slater back in the day, Jay Novacek, Jason Witten. Jake Ferguson is going to be the fourth great great tight end that we've had. And I think in his third year, Ferguson will blow up. Behind him, you got Schoon and Hendershot. For tight end 2 and 3, that's not bad. Right now, our projected offensive line, as of right now, if we were to line up today, Tyler Smith would go to left tackle. TJ Bass, left guard. Center, Brock Hoffman. Right guard, Zach Martin. Right tackle, Terrence Steele. Terrence Steele, second season coming off that injury. It's not as hard for a lineman to come off that injury as it is for a receiver. Because I think Michael Gallup just never trusted his knee fully. And whenever he did trust it, he could make plays. And we saw him make plays whenever he wanted to. Down the stretch of last year, he kind of came on, but not enough to keep him for $13 million. Terrence Steele could come back at least 90% of what he was in 2022. Then that right side will be solid. And TJ Bass, a lot of people don't know a lot about him. He started one game last year against Arizona. He came in a handful of times to play guard. UDFA just like Terrence Steele. TJ Bass could be the next Terrence Steele for us at left guard. Could be the next Ronald Leary at left guard for us. That's yet to be seen, but a lot of hype around him. Between him and Brock Hoffman, TJ Bass getting a lot of hype. And when he played last season, he played very well. Go to defense. Defensive line. Starting defensive ends, Tank Lawrence, Micah Parsons, right? Starting defensive tackles, as of right now, Mozzie Smith, Osa Digizua. Behind Tank and Micah, we got Sam Williams and Simi Fehoko Jr. Behind Mozzie and Osa right now, we got Carl Davis and Chauncey Golston. At linebacker, we have Eric Kendricks and Damone Clark as starters. And then behind that, we got Marquise Bell and DeMarvion Overshawn. Overshawn, really excited to see what this kid can do. Tore his ACL before preseason. He should be back 100%, ready to roll. There was a lot of hype with this kid coming out of Texas last season. In the secondary, Trayvon Diggs. We're hoping that he can come back and be the same corner that he was before he tore that ACL. Every player reacts differently. Michael Gallup wasn't the same. And then you got an Adrian Peterson, a running back, who, when they tear their ACL, that's the worst position to tear your ACL in. He comes back the next season and almost breaks Eric Dickerson's single-season rushing record. You see Breece Hall last year looking like, a man possessed coming off a torn ACL. So if Diggs can be the Diggs that we know, he's starting cornerback number 1, Bland number 2, and Jordan Lewis, who we re-signed, is at slot. And safety, free safety Malik Hooker, strong safety, hitman Donovan Wilson. Behind Hooker, you got Israel Mukwamu, who can play free safety and corner. And behind Donovan Wilson, you got Wanye Thomas. That's good safety depth. And then Eric Scott Jr. and Deshaun Wright right now are the backup corners. It's not a bad roster. Not a bad roster at all. Now we have the draft coming up in 16 days. Now this is where the frustration of not signing, big free agents, this and that. We'll sign some more guys, but it'll be after the draft. Now we have 3 picks in the top 87, I believe. I used pick 24, pick 57, something like that, and then our third round pick is in the 80s. First round offensive line. Now, Yahoo Sports top 100 draft prospects, top 12 guys, 6 of them are offensive linemen, offensive tackles, guards, centers. At number 27, you got Jackson Powers Johnson out of Oregon. We have pick number 24. The best center in the draft supposedly is Graham Barton out of Duke, who played left tackle last year but is more of an interior guard center type guy. Jackson Powers Johnson, guys, out of Oregon, looks like this early 1900s super strong circus guy. I mean, he could be something special. And first round linemen, we usually hit on really well. I would rather have Tyler Smith kick out to left tackle, because we know he can play left tackle, and we drafted him to supplant Tyron Smith when the time came, and that time is now. Left tackle is not easy to find, and I do not want to have a rookie starting at left tackle this season. So, first round pick, if we come across, I'm going to just say Jackson Powers Johnson, that name. You take him in the first round. Plug him in at center. He is a plug-and-play guy at center. Tyler Smith back at left tackle. TJ Bass at left guard. That offensive line, that starting 5 right there, I'm not hating it at all. I'm not hating it at all, because in 2022, what was it? Tyler Smith, Connor McGovern, Biadash, Martin, and Steele. And that was a pretty, that the offensive line was moving people. Jackson Powers Johnson would be better than Tyler Biadasz right now on paper, and I believe on the field he would be too. And TJ Bass would be at least as good as Connor McGovern. At least as good as Connor McGovern was at left guard. Maybe if not better throughout the season. And Tyler Smith at left tackle, if he goes to left tackle this season, that's probably where he'll stay. And he was great in 2022 as a raw rookie on an island against great pass rushers in that season. I like that offensive line right there. In the top 100 draft prospects, you got 23 offensive linemen. You have 6 defensive tackles, 8 running backs. So in rounds 2 and 3, I'm looking at running back and defensive tackle. Now, we could have gotten a gift by the name of Tavondre Sweat, as y'all are pretty familiar with that DT from Texas. 360-pound defensive tackle that has finesse also. Got popped with that DWI a couple days ago, which makes his stock fall a lot. That's exactly the type of player that we like to take a chance on. So if he falls to the 3rd round, or could fall to the 4th round, because a lot of teams are scared to mess with him, it's right up our alley right there, right up our alley. That means in the 2nd round, we can take a running back, a young cat. And a lot of people have us with Jonathan Brooks out of Texas. The kid tore his ACL in November. That's what I don't like about it. We have Rico Dowdle, kid tore his ACL in November. But you got other backs. You got Braylon Allen out of Wisconsin, more of a power back. Rico has speed, not Tony Pollard speed, but speed. But if that boy from Texas is ready to go, so be it. You got Troy Benson out of Florida State. You know what I mean? He could be ready to go. Youth at running back is big. And then you look at the free agent market, and they're talking about Zeke coming back, which I would not mind. He's a good 2 yards in a cloud of dust power back. We get to the 5-yard line, he will get us in the end zone. He is better than a lot of Cowboy fans think. So if we bring him back for a 1-year vet minimum deal, I would object not to that at all. If we were to do that, if we drafted a running back, you'd want that speedster, more scat back. You wouldn't want two power backs. So then maybe, if Braylon Allen, no, I mean Jonathan Brooks, if Brooks is ready to go and can play when the season starts, that'll be less than a year, from the tear. That'll be 10 months from the tear to playing in a regular season game, week 1. But there's more, running backs than him. You get that right running back to pair with Zeke and Dowdle and have a running back by committee. A rookie, a savvy veteran power back, and Rico. That's a good running back room right there to me. And if Tavondre Sweat can keep his nose clean, that 360-pound defensive tackle, you say you get him around 3. That would be the perfect first 3 picks. That would solidify the running back room right there for me. That would solidify the offensive line. Or say we luck out and like the top tackle right now is looking like Joe Alt or Olu Fashanu out of Penn State and Notre Dame. And then you got J.C. Latham out of Alabama. And then also Troy Fatanu out of Washington. Those 4 guys are rated in the top 10. And if one of those 4 guys fell to pick 24, then maybe you do go rookie offensive tackle. Maybe you do go rookie offensive tackle, keep Tyler at left guard, and have Brock Hoffman at center. Maybe he develops and, can be what he can be. So many, unknowns there. But to be safe, I'd rather have a center at pick 1, running back at pick 2, and that defensive tackle at pick 3. That right there would clean the roster so quickly. And then at pick 5, we got 5th round, 6th round, 2 7th rounders. You could add another running back in there, add another lineman, another defensive lineman, and add a cornerback. We don't need to draft a receiver. We do not need to draft a receiver. We don't need to draft a tight end. Don't need to draft a quarterback. Don't need to draft a safety. Don't need to draft, really don't need to draft a defensive end. Interior of the defensive line, yes. Offensive lineman, yes. Running back, yes. Those are our biggest 3 needs. O-line, running back, defensive tackle. O.C. Digizua is a good defensive tackle. And if Mozzie can start to catch on in year 2, that'd be great. And if whoever we get in the first 2 days of defensive tackle can be a plug-and-play guy and make a difference, that would be super great. And then after the draft, say you got Gilmore still out there, hypothetically saying, right? Say you got Gilmore still out there, and say he doesn't want to move again, and gives us a nice discount to stay here in Dallas. That'd be a great, guy to keep. That'd be depth at cornerback. Last season, if we didn't have Jordan Lewis, when Diggs went down, we would have been up shit creek without a paddle. Because we would have had Deron Bland and Stephon Gilmore and then Nashawn Wright. And Nashawn Wright would have been playing outside opposite Gilmore because he don't play in the slot. And that would have been disastrous. But we had Jordan Lewis as insurance. So Bland kicked to the outside. Jordan Lewis, veteran slot corner, moved back into the slot. Depth is important, especially at corner. You want 4 good corners, not just 3, 4. So I would like to re-sign Gilmore. And then safety Kyle Duggar, he signed with the Patriots, big extension. right now, free agent wise, who else is out there? You got a few offensive linemen. You got offensive tackle Andreas Pete, from the Saints. Chris Hubbard. You got offensive guard Laken Tomlinson, who is very serviceable. Defensive tackle Calais Campbell. I wanted him last year so bad. Calais Campbell's stats in 2022 were better than every defensive tackle that we had on the roster combined that season in 2022. So last year when he was a free agent and we were going to make our run, I was sure we'd go after him, but Calais Campbell signed with, I can't remember who, but it was a non-contender, and I could not understand why. When you're like 36, 37, you've made your money, you want to go ring chasing. So after the draft, if we can get at least two good savvy veterans, possibly 3 on the cheap, that'd be great. And J.K. Dobbins, his whole young career has been injury riddled, right? DeAndre Swift had the same problem, but he had a change of scenery last year, went to Philadelphia and played the entire season. It was really, really good. So J.K. Dobbins could be, somebody to look out for. Elliot Dobbins would be a great 1-2 punch with Dowdle. And if that were the case, then, I maybe you draft a running back in the 5th round. And in the 2nd round, 3rd round, you don't go running back, you go maybe 2nd round, you pick another offensive lineman just to solidify the trenches. The trenches are where it all starts. The 49ers are able to get away with it. They have one guy on the offensive line that The other 4 you don't, because of Shanahan's system. Their system is great, and Brock Purdy is playing with like 5 possible future Hall of Famers. We know Trent Williams is going to be in Hall of Fame. Christian McCaffrey is like the best running back we've seen in the last 25 years. One of the best. Debo, Ayuk, and Kittle. I mean, those 5 guys to play with on the offense, makes Brock Purdy's job a lot easier. But Philadelphia, they've been so good for so long because that offensive line that they had. But now they don't have Kelsey anymore. Lane Johnson's a year older. They had to trade Hassan Reddick. They did get Saquon Barkley. But how much better is Barkley than Swift? Because Swift was balling last year. But this team took a nosedive last season also. And Jalen Hurts can't be running like he's been running. Kellen Moore is Philly's OC now. Kellen Moore likes to throw the ball a lot. That's not the Eagles' MO. So, I'm making an early prediction, April prediction before the draft that the Cowboys repeat as NFC East champs. Don't know what seed it'll be, but I believe that we will win the division again. Dan Quinn can go to Washington. He can take Dorrance Armstrong, Dante Fowler, Tyler Biotish, all he wants. That doesn't worry me at all. He grabbed those 2 guys to replace Montez Sweat and Chase Young, but they are a far cry from those 2 players. Montez Sweat goes to Chicago, Chase Young in San Francisco. Dorrance Armstrong and Dante Fowler really benefited from the play of Micah Parsons and Tank Lawrence. They really did. So Deron Payne and Jonathan Allen are going to really have to play their ass off to have those 2 guys have a major impact. And Biotish is just an average center. He's an average center at best. So Washington and the Giants don't, really worry me at all next season. I believe we sweep both of those teams like we do just about every year. LVE retired, as we know. Hankins, we let go. We let him walk. But it's not all bad. Not all bad at all. We got to see what the draft looks like, who we land, and what we do after the draft. That's the last wave of free agency. And other than that, we're pretty good at, when the draft ends, signing UDFAs. Maybe one that can make a difference. 2 years ago, Kevontae Turpin. Last year, Brandon Aubrey. I know those are special teams guys, but Turpin is starting to become an offensive guy also now. Brandon Aubrey is looking like Mr. Automatic, like Justin Tucker Jr. So, this is far from over. And who knows, maybe, Dak gets his extension before the season starts, and Lamb. And the story about Parsons wearing thin, that's all. Don't even listen to that malarkey. There's nothing to write about right now because we're in limbo in the offseason. It's, before the draft. Nothing's really happening. So people have to write about something. Micah Parsons has no problem at all. He's not wearing thin in the Cowboys organization. He's the best guy that we have on the defensive side of the ball. Even though he's tailed off the last 3 seasons toward the end of the season and been really non-existent in the playoffs, but he's still grown into that man body. He needs to add another good 10, 15 pounds, really, if he wants to play defensive end 17 games and into January. The way he starts the season. He starts the season like, shot out of a cannon, and in the last, month of the season, it looks like he has molasses in his legs. But, yeah, this season we're going to be right in it just like we were last year. That playoff loss to Green Bay, like I said before, I'll say it again, was the worst playoff loss I've witnessed in the history of me being a fan. 2009 season, we lost against Minnesota 34-3 at Minnesota in round 2, but we were not expected to win that game. Minnesota was a powerhouse that year. We won the division by beating Philly week 17, and then we beat Philly week after in the wild card round. This playoff loss, we were expected to win. We're playing the 7th seed. 3 years ago, they wouldn't have been a playoff team. And we're at home, where we averaged 40 points a game in the 8 games we played at home this last season. 16 in a row we won at home. So we were expecting to win that game, host the second round game at home, and get to the chip game in the NFC that we haven't been to in forever. And to drop in the first round like that, I had to take time off. But I'm back on my P's and Q's now, guys. Offensive linemen, there's a lot of them. And this is coming from Yahoo Sports. I know everybody has a different top 100 list. But, with Yahoo's top 100 draft prospects, 23 offensive linemen are in there. A lot of them you haven't heard of. Then you got 6 defensive tackles, 8 running backs. And we hear this draft has got a lot of good running backs that you can get later in the 4th and 5th round. And if that's the case, if we can land a good running back in the 5th round, then that'll open up round 2 or round 3 for, BPA, possibly, If Will McClay hits on this draft and we get, like 2022, Tyler Smith, right? Big impact player. Jake Ferguson was an impact player. Damone Clark, he missed like the first 6 games. That was his rookie year. He came out when he was ready to play, and he played good that season, his rookie year, next to Van Der Esch. Last year, he was disappointing, but he played good his rookie year. And then Jordan Lewis goes down early. Deron Bland steps in at slot and balls F out. That was 4 guys we had from that draft class that were instant impact players. Instant impact players. If Will McClay can hit on this draft like he did in 2022, 2021, 2020, 2018, 2016, then that changes everything. And especially if we get a couple of low-key, cheap, old veteran free agents after the draft, 1-year deal, bridge guys. This team will be ready to rock and roll again. Compete for the division, possibly win the division, compete for a high seed. Because besides San Fran, Green Bay might get better, they might not, we don't know. We know Houston, they got Joe Mixon, Stephon Diggs, but they're in the AFC. We do play Houston this year. They are our 17th game. We will play them at home. At home. Because in 2022, we played Cincy at home. Last season, we played the Chargers at the Chargers. So this year, we'll play the Texans at home. That's a plus on that. And what divisions are we playing? We're going to play the NFC South this year. Hell, I forgot. I forgot which divisions we're playing. I know the schedule is going to be more difficult this year than last year. We all know that, but and we'll have the first place schedule also, opposed to the second place schedule that we had last season. But just real quick, hang with me real quick. In the AFC, we played the AFC East this last year. Year before that, AFC South. Year before that, so the AFC North. So we'll be playing the AFC North this season. That's Baltimore, Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Cincy, and then Houston as the 17th game. And then in the NFC, this season we played the NFC West, Arizona, Seattle. The season before that, we played the NFC North, South. So we'll be playing the NFC South this season, which will be Tampa, Atlanta, Carolina, and Chicago. No. Tampa, Atlanta, New Orleans, and Carolina. Yeah, I believe we played the South this season. Or the North. NFC North or the South. I'm getting the 2 years mixed up. Yeah, it'll be the North. Yeah, it'll be Green Bay, Minnesota, Detroit, and Chicago this year. Plus every team that finished first in the division. So the schedule will be tougher, but I think this team will be up for the challenge. I'm excited to see what Mike Zimmer brings for the defense, and I'm excited to see who we get April 25th through April 27th. And then excited to see what kind of moves we make after that. And maybe we snatch up that special UDFA that nobody saw, Or maybe we draft that gem in the 6th round that nobody saw, like a Tyreek Hill, something like that, You never know. Will McClay has, he's nobody drafts better. I can say that. But basically, the bottom line of this video is, no matter what this offseason is looking like, this team will be coming out to compete this season at a very high level, possibly higher than last season. Being that the draft class of last year will have a year under its belt. We'll get to see what Overshawn can do. Mozzie will have a second year under his belt. Schoonmaker have a second year under his belt. Fehoko, Asim Richards, all them boys. They're all going to battle in camp. And then we're going to see who we get in this year's draft. And there's a lot of, for our needs, there's a lot of good players that fit our needs in this draft this year. So that'd be interesting. And I would love to be able to trade back into the first round and get 2 picks in the first round. Therefore, giving our first round next year. No, that wouldn't work because we'd just be trading up. I would love to have 2 first-round picks. I know that. Oh, my goodness. An early one and then a late one. Oh, could you imagine? In this draft, we have Marvin Harrison Jr.'s son in it. He is like the third ranked prospect in the draft. We know Marvin Harrison from the Colts. Wonder how good his son will be. Wonder where he'll go. Washington has the second pick of the draft. And there are two running backs that are Caleb Williams and that one cat from I can't remember what school, but yeah, Washington will be in rebuild mode. Now, I'm not saying Dan Quinn won't have this team looking good in 2 or 3 years, but this season I don't see that happening. Nor for the Giants either. But all right, guys, that's it. I just had a hit on this. You know, everybody's putting the fork in us, and it's ridiculous. Just look at 2022 is not much different at all. We went to the season with so many question marks in 2022, and we had a really good year that year. Won a playoff game and had a nail biter at San Fran. You know, so saddle up, guys. I've recovered from that horrible loss that we suffered, and 2024, baby, here we come. When the draft hits, I'm excited. I want to see Jackson Powers Johnson or somebody of that caliber at center. And then if we sign a J.K. Dobbins, then in round 2, go for that offensive guard or tackle, maybe, you know. And then in the third round, if Devondre Sweat's there, snatch his ass up. Straighten him out. I mean, we've handled the likes of, you know, Michael Irvin, Deion Sanders, Terrell Owens, Randy Gregory, you know, David Irving. So many personalities. We can handle this cat. Man, that'd be great. 360-pound, big old defensive tackle that has finesse moves also. That is a run-stopping guy right there. And if he can make Mozzie better, and, you know, I mean, just a young nucleus, this team keeps getting younger and younger with a veteran quarterback. We'll see, guys. If y'all watch this to the end, I'm going on 42.5 minutes. I appreciate that. Y'all are real ones. I'm just giving y'all my best take and analysis of what I'm seeing so far right now and of what the Joneses are doing. Jerry Jones is in his mid-80s. He's mentioned his mortality before. He is too old to want to go through a full rebuild. So what the Cowboys have been doing for the last 10 plus years has been putting a competitive team out there on the field every year. Good enough to go all the way, just has not. And we have been damn close a few times. 2014 was our year. Got, you know, taken away by a call. 2016, Aaron Rodgers gets sacked by Jeff Heath from behind. His hand is right here. Jeff Heath nails him from behind. Doesn't fumble and has the mental capacity to immediately call a timeout with like 4 seconds left. And then the next play throws a 35-yard out route to Jared Cook with 1 second left. You know, that was our year right there with a rookie quarterback and running back. 2018, we couldn't stop the run for some reason. Todd Gurley and the other guy ran for 100 yards on us both. But competitive teams every season. And we've had 12-win seasons 3 years in a row. There's a lot of teams out there that would love to have had 12-win seasons 3 years in a row. We haven't done that since the early 90s. We have no hardware to show for it like we did in the early 90s, but we'll see. Maybe we string together 5, 6, 7 12-win seasons in a row. You never know. It just depends on how well we draft, how well we sign, and whatnot, you know. So, all right, guys, I'm going to let y'all guys go. Y'all have a good week. It is Tuesday. Keep God first and foremost. He comes before everything, even this. Seek Him and His righteousness, and everything else in your life will fall into place. I am a living testimony of that. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'm going to be coming out with some fire real soon here on a probably every other day basis. Some real fire. I'm talking about, I'm not just going to come out with trade ideas and, you know, stuff to waste your time. I'm going to come out with real talk every time I do a video and do a live show, guys. So I hope y'all enjoyed it, man. And I'll see y'all guys on the next go around. Please subscribe, like, and share this content. I got to go. Charles in Charge is out. Deuce.